Turning to a big story in America, well, the House is ending its second week here this Friday evening without naming a speaker. Republicans don't seem much closer to figuring it out than they were yesterday when, you may recall, Majority Leader Steve Scalise dropped out because he didn't see a path to getting the votes needed. Today, Republicans put Firebrand Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan forward as the nominee for Speaker. He got basically 124 votes versus 81 for Congressman Austin Scott. That's in a private GOP meeting. Jordan increased his total vote count to 152, but that is still far short of the 217 he would need to become Speaker. And you may recall what happens if you don't have 217. For Kevin McCarthy, it set off rounds and rounds of voting and acrimony. This time, they're trying to keep that in these closed-door meetings. But we are ending the second week without a Speaker. And I can tell you tonight, House members have now been sent home for the weekend. For a little insight, we turn to a former Republican House member, Denver Riggleman, now an independent. Welcome, sir.
Hey, how are you today?
I'm all right. Many different things going on, but this one is important. What does it tell you that this is a Republican Party that took the very unusual step with a narrow margin of siding with Democrats to oust its leader and now can't find a new one?
It's I can't even say it's unbelievable anymore when you look at what's happened behind the conference walls and the screaming that's gone on. I almost wonder, Ari, it's like monkeys flinging poo and screeching, you know, when you're looking at what the GOP conference is right now. But what really shocks me, and I think what people forget, Ari, is
you were once in.
The conference I was once in. That is
so I don't know how you self-identify within the zoo analogy, but go ahead, sir. It's your analogy.
Thanks for pointing out, Ari. Thanks for pointing that out. But I think people forget that on the night of January 5th at about 11:27 p.m., you know, Jordan sends a bizarre text to Mark Meadows. That was actually a bit of a copy-paste from a document from Joseph Schmitz, a former DOD Inspector General, that uses sources from, you know, a Falun Gong-backed newspaper like the Epoch Times, Mo Brooks, and the incredible Peter Navarro, were his sources on this 4-pager on how to actually overturn the election. And that's what Jim Jordan used to text to Mark Meadows that night. And I think people are forgetting, you know, how involved Jim Jordan was in this actual January 6th push.
Yeah, let me slow you down. I mean, there's many ways to look at different people who could become Speaker. Ideology and politics is one of them. People say, oh, this person's more or less conservative in the Republican Party. You're saying the fact that this many, a majority of Republicans today, Friday, are considering Jordan for Speaker is concerning because of his record, not on ideology per se, but on evidence that he was part of an effort to overthrow the lawful winner of the election?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit both on ideology, but yeah, I mean, how do you have, Ari, in this time when everybody knows about January 6th, you could have a complete Republican leadership, all three, you're talking about the Speaker, the Majority Leader, and the Whip, that all voted to overturn the election, or were actively involved in trying to coordinate overturning the election. And to me, knowing what I know about January 6th, knowing about the data that we've seen, all the Meadows text messages, how Jordan actually was part of the Stop the Steal movement, Ari, it's just, you know, we had 155 on the second vote that voted for Jim Jordan for Speaker, as you know, as a nominating portion of that. And I think, Ari, it's shocking to me seeing what I've seen that the GOP has gone this far. I knew it was going to get worse. I didn't think it would get this bad. We have 155 people voting for election denier as actual Speaker of the House.
Mm-hmm. You've been in these kind of meetings. What happens? I mean, how intense does it get when everybody knows sooner or later you got to get to that number? McCarthy didn't have it to start. We lived through that. When he didn't have it to finish, he got ousted, very short speakership. Is this kind of a therapeutic process where they're saying, all right, we'll try this one because he was next up, but he doesn't have, Jordan, because, you know, he's got the Trump thing, we'll show that. Like, at what point does it get real, or is it real right now?
Right now, I'm going to tell you this, Ari, and it's very impossible to predict Congress. I think my intelligence, when I was in intelligence school, they said the only way to predict the future is for it to happen first. But I'm going to tell you this, Jim Jordan's not going to be Speaker.
You don't think? Why? So what makes you confident about that tonight?
No, I think there's enough people there. Jim Jordan has made some enemies. You know, what is it, only 4? I think 5 only have to vote against him for him not to be Speaker. The last vote in conference, he only got 155 votes, so he has to make up, what, 60 or so votes in order to get it. Ari, I just don't see him getting it. I think you're going to have somebody that comes up.
I'll give you the last word. Reportedly, he said, quote, America wants me, end quote.
Yeah, I think that's bullshit. I think that's probably one of the dumbest things you could probably say. So there you go.
All right, you get the last word on that. Former Congressman Denver Riggleman, thank you. We'll be right back.